MeQuest.
So we're still consistent. We're trying to be consistent. So I and Goodness will be taking this section as well. So today we'll be covering prototyping, interaction design, and usability testing. For those that have not really done the first and the second assignment, it's still very important because today's project or today's task will be like a continuation of the last one. So if you were not here during the first and the second, you can jump onto our YouTube channel and watch the videos, the video for both class. So today we're going to be dealing with prototyping. Prototyping, of course, it's the key point we're going to touch today will be tools for prototyping. We're going to see the different tools, but just like we said in the first class, our main focus is Figma. There are other tools. I use SD a lot more, but Figma is more flexible, it's web-based, and of course it's free to use, at least for beginners. We're going to also touch a little on animation and transition to give you the concept, guidelines, and what you need to put in mind when you're doing your animations, collaboration and feedback, responsive prototype, interactive approach, and documentations. So why prototyping? Of course, it plays a crucial role in UX design. If you design, the reason we come into designing in the first place with tools like Figma is because we want to demonstrate what we're actually thinking. We're trying to bring to life what our ideas are, right? So we have tools like in Figma to help us try to like give a blueprint of what we intend the final product to be. So of course, several reasons for prototyping visualization. If I tell you that, okay, I'm thinking of building an app that is going to take care of maybe local delivery within a state, and I tell you, okay, this particular app will be able to track my states and then the neighboring state and then calculate the amount fare and all that, it will look as though I'm talking too much. But if I do an MVP, like at least something that shows my client or prospective investors or my friends or my colleagues on what I'm thinking of building or what I'm thinking of sending out to the development team to build, if I try to put it in a format that they can have a feel of what my end product will be, then it makes more sense because people will then believe, right? People will believe what I'm about to build. Then we also have the user testing. We have iteration, we have communication, and we have risk reduction. It will help us to be able to, if instead of spending too much money in the development stage, building like maybe 10 pages, right? And we see that, okay, a particular page is not even needed or is not necessary at the start. Because we have a prototype, we can be able to reduce all those risks that we're having, or maybe if the app is not supposed to scan people's card, right? Or maybe the app is not supposed to it's not supposed to take people's card details out. The app can be able to do the prototype in a way that all of those vital informations will be hidden. So it is the way we set it up, that's how the end product will be. So what is prototyping? Prototyping is in design refers to the process of creating interactive and often visual representation of a product, just like I said, or systems user interface and functionality before it is fully developed. These prototypes serve as a tangible way to explore the test design ideas, interaction, user flows before communicating to the final design. So this is just like the formal way to define a prototype. And then there are various levels of fidelity. There are low fidelity prototypes, medium fidelity prototypes, high fidelity prototypes, interactive prototypes. So it depends on what's the stage you are like in your designing stage. So for tools, there are several tools available for creating prototypes, ranging from basic wireframing tools to advanced prototype software. Popular prototyping tools include Sketch. Now, Sketch is just something the same thing you design, but you kind of sketch like with pen, you see, or you use paper. Most times you don't even need the sketch so much. All you need to do is to draw on your paper and like get the format of how you want the home page to be, the about us, the contact page. And when you're done, you're satisfied, you can transfer it. If you're a very digital person, you don't need paper and biro. What you need to do is soft things like Sketch, or you can use your Microsoft whiteboard to do your sketches. And then see, that's what I use mostly for. It does the same thing Figma do as well. So we have InVision, all of these things we explained in the first class. And then for user testing, I'm going to hand over to Goodness to take over for user testing and some of the topics under this particular section.
Hello everyone, good morning. Okay, so I'm going to be talking on usability testing. Just a minute. Background. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so conducting the test, right? Administer the usability test by observing user testing for prototype. Conduct user testing sessions with your prototypes to gather feedback and validate design decisions. Observe how users interact with the prototype, identify usability issues, and collect insights to improve the user experience. Iteratively refine the prototype based on user feedback. Okay, so basically, we might not like really understand how you would prototype your design. So I'm just going to show you something here. Okay, so first, Ibuso talked about low fidelity prototyping. So low fidelity, we talked about low fidelity design last week. So low fidelity prototyping is simply prototyping your low fidelity design, right? So you want to test your low fidelity design before you go to high fidelity design. Why? Because in low fidelity design, you're able to just identify the user journey and how they are going to move from one screen to another, right? They are not distracted by images, colors, and all the like. So once if you're prototyping your low fidelity design, you're able to focus on how the users are going to like go from one screen to another smoothly, basically focusing on like the user journey. Now you're not thinking of animation and the likes like that. You're basically just seeing how they're able to smoothly go from one screen to another. And okay, so going to show my screen here as well. Okay, so we used this last week for like our class and all. Okay, so if you want to prototype, you just switch to this tab on your Figma. So we have design, we're on the design page right now. So you just switch to prototype, just click on prototype here. If you want to prototype, let's say, okay, here is the about us page. You click on the stack here about, make sure you're clicking on the about, you're clicking on the about, and then you're drawing you're moving it from this screen to this screen, right? So it's going to show you the properties of the prototype right here on drag. No, it's not on drag. Okay, it's not going on click. I think minus. Okay, so now we want it to be on click when the user clicks on that particular text right there about to move to another screen, right? So you change the properties to on click here, then it moves straight to that screen. So let's just do a little bit of testing to see if it works. So I'm going to play it here. Okay, so let me fit screen, fit width, and yeah, we are like on it right now. So yes, let's click on about us, and you see it has gone to the next page from there. So basically that's how you prototype your designs in Figma. And I have one right here. Not here. Okay, yes, right here. So like this project is like fully prototype. Let me switch to prototype. You see how like the lines are going from one screen to another and everything looks like a web. I'm sure you must have. It means like you're fully prototyping your design for user testing so that you can test it with your users. Once you're done with your design, you want to prototype it so that you can test it before it goes to development, so that it's not after like when you have rolled out your product then you start seeing usability issues. You want to deal with any usability issues while you're still on the design phase so that you can correct any issue, any user journey issue or any user experience issue from the design before they invest so much in the development. Yeah, so the let's get back to the slide. So basically, you want to conduct user testing sessions with the prototype to gather feedback and validate design decisions. Observe how users interact with the prototype, like what you have prototyped and how um, your screen is supposed to move from one screen to another, right? Observe how users interact with the prototype, identify usability issues just as they're going from one screen to another, and collect insights to improve the user experience. Iteratively refine the prototype based on user feedback. Let's go to the next slide. Animation and transition. Incorporate animation and transition within the prototype to stim. Now we are like on high fidelity design, right? So you add animations and transitions to um, your design. Incorporate animation and transition into, sorry, transition within the prototype to stimulate how elements move and change state. This helps users understand the dynamic behavior of the interface and provide a more realistic and engaging experience, right? So you want to add animation to engage your users in your design and keep them on like your design, and because it improves the user experience. You don't want everything to be static. You want to add like subtle animations and all of those. Let me see if we can quickly achieve something simple right here. Okay, so let's just quickly do this, just really simple though. Let's see, this is tagged so I might not be able to move it. uh, minors, minor, everything here is used auto layout, so I might not be able to easily animate it. But just for the sake of animation here, let's do this. Okay, move this here, right? And let's ship this, and then let's move this here. Oh, sorry. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay. This is not a very detailed class. I'm just really fast. You might not like get it, but I just want you to get the idea of prototype, basically, and how to add subtle animations to your designs, right? So yeah, so we are moving from this screen to this screen right here. So we can do something like this. Let's go back to prototype. We're switching from here to here now. No. Control Z. We're moving from this frame in particular. So we're drawing the link from here to this screen right here, not on click. We want it to be after delay, 18 milliseconds, and not instant. We want it to smart animate, and oh, this can be really fast. Okay, let's do 1.5. Yep. Okay, so let's see how it's going to play out. Okay, I'm not sure you saw that, but let's play it again. Restart. Oh Lord. Start it from here. So want to put start for here. Yes. Let's go back. Then restart. Yeah. You saw that, just like subtle little animations to your design. Let me restart it again and you see the little animation that we have done. Yes, so it goes from small to enlarge. You can add any animation at all, but I'm sure you've seen something as simple as this in like your on websites that you've interacted with. Yeah, so basically that's how you can add like subtle animation and little animations to your designs, right? Using interaction prototype just to keep your users engaged. And yeah, let's move to the next slide. Okay, we have collaboration and feedback. Using prototyping tools that support collaboration and share capabilities. This allows use prototyping tools that that support collaboration and sharing capacities. This allows team members, stakeholders, and users to review the prototype, leave comments, and provide feedback. Collaboration features help streamline the design interaction process, right? So you want to use prototyping tools that support collaboration. Figma is one of those tools. So let me show you. You can drop comments on Figma and all like that. To drop comments on Figma, all you need to do is just to press C. You go to chat. You can say something like I don't understand this screen, tag the developer and all those kind of things. Let me see. I don't on the screen. This is not the right statement. Then you can add to whoever it is that you want to add, anybody at all. Let's say a developer is on this particular design right here, right? You can add the person. And yeah, let's just move it from here and just V. So you want to use Figma is a good prototyping tool for that, right? And you can, once you're done prototyping, let's see this right here. Once you're done prototyping, you can send the prototyping link to maybe a user that you want to test with. So this is the let's fit screen. Let's fill screen. So this is a mobile design basically, right? If you want your users to like if you want your users to test, if you want to test this particular project with like your users, you can send the prototyping link right here. Just click on share to your users, and you are able to monitor how they are interacting with the design and all those kind of things. You can give them tasks to like, okay, do this, do that, right? And you're able to see how they're interacting with the design, and you're able to make corrections and changes to your designs that is going to make the user experience easy. What else? Okay, so Ibuso is going to take responsive prototyping.
For responsive prototype, yeah, use prototype tools that support collaboration and sharing capabilities. These allow team members, stakeholders, and users to view, review the prototype, leave comment, and provide feedback. Collaboration features help streamline the design interaction process. Now, I had to read this because we needed the formal definition of what responsive prototype is. Now, I'm going to be just quickly share the screen now. What I did so far is, just like I showed the last time, I did something for the web. And then whatever you do for the web, you have to do the design also for the for tab and then for mobile phones. Now the question will be why and at what point will this come to play? Now, as a designer, you don't have too much to worry about, but what the developers do is that they try to set something called breakpoints. If you look at your system, if you look at your phone, or any app that you like, if you go on the browser, right, and you use your laptop, the same format, the same link, the same everything, when you put it in your tab, you see that some things adjust. So that's called that is being done by the front-end engineer using styling. Like there's something called style sheet, and what they do is that they set the breakpoint. So it is very important for you to design. If you look at this, if we preview this, the format it is will be very different from the format it is for the phone. So whatever you're designing, I know for those of us that have already done the assignment, whatever you've designed so far, you need to do another copy of it that will be termed as the mobile version or the tab version. And then there is also something called breakpoint plugin in Figma. So you can install the plugin and then you can also set, like you can play around it with time. I won't be going down to all those things, but if you want to add a plugin, you right click and then you find more plugins. So those are the ones you see previously on my screen and the plugins I have. And then you can install the breakpoints. I've not really used it on Figma, but you can install, and this is the breakpoint you can run. And then, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm opening this plugin. But when you start doing, if you're doing a full-time designing job, you definitely come across breakpoints like this. It's just for us for it to guide. So what it does, it can be able to understand who is reviewing your work, and then it will just respond automatically. But just bear in mind at the beginner stage is that when you're being asked to design anything, any kind of thing, even if it's something from low code, no code, or something from maybe a website or a web-based application, just always remember it is only when you're being asked to design specifically a mobile app application in and out, then you don't need to bother about breakpoints. You just need one design because everything would definitely align with the mobile phones. I think even for mobile applications, you still need to adjust because when you start a design, you can determine if you're designing for the flip phones, right? Or you're designing for just a normal phone. And the next will be interactive approach. Goodness, would you want to take this? Okay. So interactive approach, prototyping is an interactive process. Start with low fidelity, just like she said, prototypes to quickly explore design ideas and concept, gradually increase fidelity as you refine these tests and test the design, continuously iterate on prototypes based on user feedback and design insight. Now, as beginners or at this stage, I would encourage us to start our design small. Don't be intimidated with the design that goodness is showing us. That's on a very advanced level, right? And that's some of those applications are already in use. But if you're coming into design, I would advise start gradually. Start from your basic pages. Don't even start putting what's the name? Animations too much, right? Just start with making sure that your flows are working, your user flows and all that is working, then gradually start putting your interactiveness. Another thing about the interactive process is you know when to do pop-up, you know when to do slides, you know when you want your button to bounce a little, right? That's your application. When a user is trying to use what you're building, you shouldn't just make everything just stand like that. You want to make them feel good. When they sign up for an application or they sign up to be a member with your MeQuest application, there has to be maybe something like a trophy or maybe a pop-up telling them good that or your application, your registration is successful or something. So that's the interactive approach. Then we also have documentation. Of course, as a designer, you should also have a documentation of everything that has been done. Some of the documentation is also being done even on the Figma itself, right? You can do your stuff on Figma and then you can export it. And another beautiful thing about knowing how to design on Figma is that you can quickly jump on InDesigns. That's other designing tools, not Photoshop, because of documentation. InDesign is specifically for documentation. So you can also be able to explain what you did. You want to, your flow, user flow, you need to let the developers know. If you follow an activity diagram for your design, you need to also let the development team or your clients to know about it. So documentation, that's document the interaction, right? The flows, behavior of prototype or feature reference, because it is what you've done. It's even very interesting to discover that before any digital product is being launched, they actually need the help of a designer. So it means designers will even do the first work. That's why we have the user research as something that is very important. So you need to document everything that you do. So this document can be useful for development teams and stakeholders to understand the intended functionalities and behavior of the finished products. So now we're going on interaction design. So in interaction design, we're going to be talking on user flow, clear feedback, affordance, consistency, feedback and testing, contextual interaction, micro interaction, error handling, progressive disclosure, and accessibility. And these points are very important. So for interaction design, it's a crucial aspect again of user experience. Design are focused on creating meaningful and engaging interaction between users and digital products and systems. So of course, some of the reason is it will enhance user experience. It is going to help in clear communication. It will help us in doing user-centered design. It will guide users for flows and feedback and response, engagement and retention and all that. So what is interaction design? Interaction design focus on designing interactive element and defining how users will engage with it. So when we talk about elements, we're talking about the logos, we're talking about the menus, we're talking about the text, we're talking about the images you use, the icons, right? The layouts and everything. So these elements, we want to define in a way that users should be able to engage with it, right? You don't just want to put the design. That's why UI UX, of course, is very important for when graphics people come into design, they explore very fast because they've mastered the act of doing still designs. So all they do now is trying to transform your still design to something that is going to respond to events, right? So proficiency in creating meaningful micro interaction, animation, transition enhance the overall user experience, right? So it's very important for us to always think about interaction designs. Before now, most websites were just stand still. People that created sites in 2000, 2000, 2001, 2002, but now we have so many sites that are very interactive, they move and all that, but however, it's too much of everything is bad, they say. So you should always make sure that the kind of design you're trying, type of interaction you're trying to put or add to your site is not overwhelming. So user flow is one very important issue. So user flow understand the user's journey and the design and design the flow of interaction accordingly, mapping out the steps user needs to take to complete tasks or achieve their goals, identify potential plan and pain points and areas where interactions can be streamlined. Now, if you're going to be design, our assignment was we should just make 3 pages and it should be like home, about, and contact us, right? Now, the flow is very simple because all we have is from the home page, there should be a button that will navigate people to the about page, and there should be another button that will navigate people to the contact page, right? Because it's very easy because we're working with just 3 pages. But can you imagine if you're going to be working with 50 pages? How are you going to make this? How are you going to make the move? How are you going to make the transition? How are you going to make the flow, right? You see, when Goodness shared her screen, it was too much of wires, and that's the flow, right? She didn't just wake up and start drawing the flows like that. In this particular assignment, the flow is very like it's not much. I can count it. It's not even up to 10. Why? Because this site just navigates to about, to contacts, to the dashboard, and then back. So, but if we're going to be working with if you're building an application for a financial institute where you have, if the transaction is successful, it has another screen for them to be able to print receipts or share receipts. Then if they click on print receipt, it has another screen that will preview the receipt that is to be printed, right? And then when they close it, it has another screen that will navigate them. So if you're going to be working with projects that are it has so many pages, then you need to take your time. Like, take your time and draw your user flow, because this is why companies, of course, employ you. This is not just something you do on your own. They really want everything to be done properly. So you need to understand user flow. And if you understand your user flow, you can be able to move further, right? So this is also just to open our eyes that we doing an assignment of 3 pages is not even taxing at all. By the time we start doing more pages, dealing with more projects, then we'll be able to, we'll get confused. Even you yourself will get confused. So user flow is very important. Then we have clear feedback. Provide clear and timely feedback to users to acknowledge their actions and inform them of system response, like visual clues such as animation, progress indicators, status message can help users understand the outcome of the interaction. So for this one is very clear, right? Whatever design you're doing, of course, you need to let people to be able to understand by default, seeing what you're typing. If you send money to someone through your banking app, I've been mentioning banking app too much. So if you're sending money to someone through your banking app, there has to be a page at least that acknowledges that this transaction was successful. The developers don't even know what to do. Funny enough, like so many high percentage of developers don't even know how to draw. They don't even know how to draw a box on Figma. It will shock you. You understand? So they don't know anything. Developers, especially the ones that are back-end developers, those ones, they can code anything, but they don't know anything that has to do with your buttons. So it is the front-end developers that will manage to tell them, okay, this is, you write the code, but whatever you're writing, this should be the outcome. And it's the front-end engineers that do it. And you, as prospective UX designers, you are the one to tell them this is how I want the page to be. But if feedback comes that, okay, you need to change this, then you should be able to change this. So you should be able to make designs that even your users can be able to understand what the outcome of whatever they are doing is. Another one is affordance. So design element is a way that suggests their functionalities or purpose, use visual clues and design conventions to create affordance that indicates how element can be interacted with. This helps users understand how to engage with interface. Now, this particular side explains there are some, if you go to an e-commerce website, for instance, you see that they always have the icon of a cat right? And then with a plus button sometimes. When users tend to see such designs, right, with an icon of a cat, they know that this is the button that tells them for them to view their cat, right? So most people would be able to know that because they've seen other sites put the symbol of cats and also write your cat in text. So those kind of way people can be able to understand based on what they've seen before. Now, there are also other situations where people need you to spell it out, right? There is physical avoidance. People need to make sure that you need to make sure that your button is very visible, right? Then there are also other ones that has to do with maybe they just think they reason. It's like it's something that they're supposed to reason and know about it. So there are different types of avoidance, but whatever you're doing in your design, since it's at the beginner stage that we're in, it is very important that whatever element you're using in the site, in your design, you should be able to communicate to people. Let people know when they should click to submit a form. Not just saying a form and then you just put a button with the email symbol. Some people don't even know that the email symbol means send, right? You still need to put the symbol, the wording send, right, for your buttons and other things as well. Also, we have consistency. It is very important. Like I'll just share this again from one of us. Okay, if I don't get it, that one can slide. I just wanted to share one of the assignment that I shared with you earlier. So if you look at this side, this, like I said earlier, from one of us, this is the assignment. So if you look at all the sides, you'll see that there is this consistency. He maintained. The first thing I recognized in this work was the consistency. So if you look at the home page, the About Us page, you barely not even feel that you've navigated. And right now we have a lot of front-end developing framework that doesn't, like before, when site was being done with just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, most times you see that you have to replicate the header. But right now, framework, you do one header. Even if you're using CMS to build this site, you just put one header. So it's encouraging what's in consistency. So when you're doing your design, even if, let's assume that the entire landing is on a different platform, and then the dashboard is from another platform. Of course, a lot of websites is like that. If you're going into development, you discover that most of our banking applications, the landing is being done almost static, but when it's time for you to do transaction, you're communicating with a very heavy system. But because it's one designer, they can be able to play with the header, the footer, and you will not even feel that you're on different platform. It's even possible that when you want to land on a banking app, it's actually the server is in Nigeria, right? But when you want to start doing transaction, the server that is in charge of that transaction is somewhere in Dubai. But you don't even feel that you're working with two different applications. Why? Because the developer actually maintained consistency in its design. So consistency is very important. When we're doing our assignment or when we're doing our personal project, always remember and consistency is not just header and footer, because I've been mentioning header and footer, and even your buttons should be very consistent, right? So the kind of buttons you do, the kind of interactions should be consistent. Your animations should be consistent. If you're doing PowerPoint, you can play with random transition. You can make some fly, just like we did this one. We're just trying to just play around, right? So some of the images are bouncing in, some are zooming in, some just have different interactions. But when you're doing websites, or you're doing a web project, or you're building an application, you don't want to play too much with interactions. You can't be making your slider, some will jump like from the up, the other one will slide from down. Don't just try to be consistent. You can choose like 3 three kind of transition method or animation method and use it all through your site. So it's very important. Making consistent interaction design across the interface. Use consistent interaction patterns, gesture, and controls to create familiarity and ensure users can transfer their knowledge from one part of the interface to another. So feedback and testing. Incorporate user feedback and conduct usability testing to evaluate the effectiveness of interaction. Observe how users interact with the interface, gather insights, and iterate on the design based on user behavior and preferences. Now, this part is, of course, in as much as we're designers today, or we're trying to learn design, this does not make you a front-end developer, right? So it means that you're not communicating with the exact product. What you are in charge of is the design. So it is your responsibility to be able to know how people are actually interacting. You want to know the time it took them for your loader, because if there's some site, of course, when you land, you will see the flash button or flash icon or loader, whatever they call it. You as a designer, you also specify that particular splash loader. So when your splash screen, sorry. So when you're designing, you need to know if people that are trying to access your prototype are complaining of the time it takes, right, to get to your final page on your website. I was trying to open a page that has I'm not getting that page now, so I'll leave that. So it's very important for you to be able to get feedback from them. Sometimes when I do some stuff, I share it with one or two persons that I know personally, and I send them the link and I try to hear from them. What do you think about this? And they tell me, oh, this thing is loaded, it's not loading fast, and different. So it's very important for you to then conceptual interaction. So consider the context of contextual interaction. So consider the context in which users will be interacting with the interface. Design interactions that are appropriate for the device, right? Platform and user environment. For example, mobile interface may require different interaction pattern. So this part tells us about, like, supposing you're trying to build a site, right? You finish the website. The place you put the button for submit, if you put it at the far end, or you put it maybe at the top, right, at the top of the screen. Most times if you're visiting a website on your browser, for example, I'll play this. If you're visiting a website from a browser, of course, most of the stuff you'll be playing with most of the thing you'll be using to interact with your web-based application or website will be a mouse, right? And so for mouse, it's very important. It is very easy to just click, because all you need to do is just to move your mouse to wherever you want to click. But if you're using on phone and you put that button at the far right, people normally hold their phone with just one hand like this. It's either this hand or this hand, and you're putting the login button at the far right. Like if you try to imagine your phone, it doesn't make sense, because with that, you're forcing people to be able to use two hands on your application. It means they need to hold with one hand and use the other one to click on the login. So, but instead of doing that, you should just put your login, because it's something that whenever someone clicks on the app, it's very important they just log in. So you put the login at a place where either a left-handed person can get to it or a right-handed person can get to it. Also, you can be able, I just discovered today that you can actually have variables. It's a new feature in Figma. You can have variables in Figma in your prototyping. So it means you can start doing designs that your prototype can actually go from light for dark mode and then light mode. So I don't know if you can relate with our phones. Sometimes we can just put our phones in dark mode, and then everything will be dark and the fonts will be lighter to help screen eyes and all that. So Figma I just discovered today that it has that features as well. So you can actually build applications and also add those variables. And I think you can use variables to do more things. So you can also grid if you go to Big Map or any weather application, you discover that when you're in the afternoon period, everything is bright. In the evening, if you're on a weather app, in the nights, the background will get dark, right? So these are things that are referred to as contextual interactions, because you can start up as a small team where you support bigger teams. So in that case, maybe you might be exposed to even more complex kind of design, right? So these are things you should put in mind when working on design. Then for micro interactions, these are little animations you can add, over effect and all that you can add to your site. I don't know if you can quickly do one, but an example of that is like, let me show you the site. So in this particular site, if you goodness also showed us something about it. So if you just overrun it, it will zoom out, right? And then if your mouse is down, it will just be down. Now the login, if you overrun it, it changes to, of course, just to let you know that you're there, right? So that you don't just come in and nobody know, like you too, you don't even know if your mouse is hovering on it. So the same thing, you can also do the same thing you do here, also with home, about, all events, find a mentor, contact. So you do when you, of course, a lot of sites, once you over your stuff there, it will show. So the same effect here, the same effect here. I can also make these ones to jump, make these ones to go in and out. So the beauty about Figma is that any a micro interaction you add here, there is a code for it, and it's very easy for the front end developer to transfer it, because what they do is that they just come into your design, pick your code, and then pick the code from your design and try to implement it on their parts. If it's something that cannot be implemented, then they can actually code it from scratch, like using timestamp and a lot of things. So I don't know, for you to be able to do some micro interactions, we're going to hopefully upload some videos that will help you to do little interactions, start page and do some arrangement, because following from the assignment, it's very obvious that we actually need to put more effort in trying to convey our message more in terms of structuring, designing, and all that. So we're going to put in some mini videos, and hopefully we'll watch it and then we'll be able to do some of our designs better. Error handling is also one very important part. Like when no matter whatever application you're building, whether either you're using maybe a content management system pattern to build, or you're coding, or you're designing from scratch, we need people to be able to know when something is not right. Of course, most of the website and application these days, if something is not right, you know it's not right. If you've not finished filling a particular field, it doesn't go further, right? So is an example of it. If you look at the image, you discover that the two screen means the same thing. It means that there is no network in the phone. And for you to put a sad face, we don't know what the error is. Yes, there's something called error 404. We developers know what it means, but the end users don't know what error 404 means. I know most of us that were visiting website like 5-8 years ago, we always see 404, and we don't have explanation. Me, I was even seeing it, I didn't even know. I only got to learn about it when I started seeing other numbers error, right? So you don't want to do errors just because of they ask you to design and you've seen error 404. You say, okay, don't worry, I'll do the same thing. This will not make much sense. You need to, as a designer, you should also think of how to handle exceptions and handle errors. So if you look at the screen, this one says operation could be completed, blah, 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 and all those things. I don't even understand what they're saying. But on this other side, there is a symbol of cloud. And of course, cloud symbol without this means it's okay, but with this means no, right? If you see an I symbol without a slash on it, it means it's visible. With a slash on it means it's not visible. So the same thing you do for your password field, you do the same thing. So this one clearly states poor network connection detected. Please check your connectivity and then retry. One other thing again I need to quickly say is that you might be saying that I'm a UX designer or I'm a UI designer. My work is just to do this, to do the designs that people can see and test on their system. Of course, if you're doing prototype, you cannot interact with it. I can't put wrong field, or my prototype cannot be able to recognize if there is network or not, to be honest with you, right? So you might say, let the developer figure what they'll do. But the truth is that as long as you're the person in charge of designing any website or any application, you need to do everything. The kind of, you see, you do the card that is going to take care of success. You're going to do the card that will take care of no success. You do the card that will take care of successful, and you do the card that's David is surprised. And you do the card that will say no successful. So you're going to do everything because it is whatever you've done and sent to the developers, that's what they will do. That's what they will use. So you're going to end up one little website job. Of course, they earn so much. Maybe that's the best part, and you guys need to know. One simple application, it could be just a simple website. As long as your client or the company you're working for takes it as a contract, you're going to do every element will come from you. So that's for error handling. Then there is progressive disclosure. I would share something with us. So if you look at the GIF there are other buttons, but everything is not just to the person's, is not to the user. You don't just expose all the information to the user because it will be too much for them. And let me even tell you, there are some websites or some forms that when you go to click, you want to register. By the time you see too many fields, you will just close it. And that mistake is not from the developer or the company, it's from the designer. Because when you were designing, you kept all the information on one page and it's too much, right? And then the developers will just take whatever you do and will transform it. So the formal definition of progressive disclosure means use progressive disclosure to gradually reveal information and features as users need them. Avoid overwhelming users with too much information or too many options at once. Show only relevant information and provide options in contextual manner. So just a quick one. Let me quickly stay. So sorry, I just need to show this. Okay, so let me, if you can see my screen. Sorry, I thought I closed this. So if you click on, maybe you want to see plan. You see that the first thing we're asking is select a plan, and then all you need to know, you need to say is the number of persons, the number of recipes you want, and blah blah blah. You choose whatever you are. If we put all the information at once, it will be too much for you. So what we did was we had to make this information first so that you just feel light, right? And then the next thing, you come next, you see like for you to add your location, enter your address, your building number, your apartment number, and your delivery instruction, right? It's the same thing. That user is still putting the same information, right? And then if they go to the next, then they are allowed to like make their payment. This is not my bank details, just in case. So you continue, then you see the final page, and when you're done, you get to see, okay, your first box will be on the way and blah, blah, blah. This is just an idea. So instead of putting so much. Instead of you to put so much on one page, you just break the information. So that's very important in your design when you start doing it. Don't even be scared, because by the time you start working, you will start working with a designing team. So at least you know these things from scratch. And when you start working, you'll find you and progressing gradually will be much easier for you. But it's very important for you to understand that these things are very important. Accessibility: ensure the interaction accessible to users with different abilities. Consider factors such as keyboard, navigation, compatibility, color contrast. We've been saying these things from day one. Design interactions that are inclusive and enable all users to interact with interface effectively. When you start designing, the best part for us to flow well with this class is, let's just start doing something. If you start designing on Figma, Figma is free, it's open for you. You'd be able to, you just find yourself doing a lot of these things that we're saying. So it's good for us to just start, and then we can understand. Now we're going to go hand over to Goodness again for usability testing. Goodness.
Let's move to what usability testing is, basically. Okay, so usability testing is a crucial aspect of UX design, as it helps elevate the effectiveness, efficiency, and user friendliness of a design by gathering feedback directly from users. Usability testing involves observing users as they interact with a product or prototype, and identifying any usability issue or areas for improvement. Here are some key aspects of usability testing. Okay, so basically, usability testing is just you testing your design, right, before it gets to development. That's why we talked about prototyping first. So that's a way users are able to interact with your designs effectively before you move it to development, before you hand over your design to the developer and say, okay, now this design is ready for development, right? So you must have done usability testing to make sure that everything is okay and fine. Yeah, so um, define objective. Clearly define the objective and goals of your usability testing. Identify specific research question or hypothesis you want to address. Determine what aspect of the design you want to elevate and improve. So basically, before you start your usability test, you want to know exactly what you're testing for, right? You want to know, okay, do we want to test how swift the user journey is, how they move from one screen to another, how are they able to complete certain tasks. So when you do your usability test, you can ask your user to, like, okay, complete a specific task, right? Like, let's say, for example, you're designing for an e-commerce website, right? So you might task the user to, like, to buy something, right? Okay, so if you want to buy this specific product, now how do you go about buying the specific product? So you sit there, you see how the user is navigating from one screen to another. You identify if they are struggling to, move from, if they are struggling to reach the end goal of buying that specific product. Probably you didn't put the button in the right place for them to find. You're seeing that, you're thinking of how to put the button in the right place for them to see it, and all of those kind of things. So basically, defining the objective is very important, so you know exactly what you're testing for. Recruit participants. Recruit participants who represent your target group. Remember, in our last class we talked about your users, identifying the users that are going to use the product, right. Once you're able to identify the users that are going to use the product, like the group of users, right, so you create the people that fit this group. Consider their demographics, characteristics, and relevant experience. Aim for a diverse group of participants to gather a range of perspectives, right? So let's say you're designing for a let me see let's say you're designing for a gaming app, right? The group of users that you're going to test for are gamers, right? So these are the people that you're going to look for to test the product, because they are the ones that are going to use the product at the end of the day. So that's like recruiting the right participants to test your product with, right? So that you're not testing with people that don't even game. If you're testing with people that don't game, they're not going to use the product because they're not gamers, and you're designing a gaming app, right? So you want to recruit the right people to test your product with. Um, Test, task, and scenarios. Define specific tasks and scenarios for participants to complete during the usability test. These tasks should reflect real life situations that users might encounter when interacting with a product. Tasks should be clear, realistic, and relevant to the objective of the test. So I'm going to go to this example right here again. Okay, so this is a mobile design that I did for, it's just a personal case study basically. I did it for like people ordering for online services, right? Let's say you want to order for like a makeup artist, you want to order for a mechanic, right? Let's say you move to a new city, you want to like get a mechanic in that city and everything. So basically that's what the app is all about. So let's just say, for example, we want to test on like how users are going to interact with this particular app. Now let's say, okay, a user wants to go from the beginning screen, like the home screen, to getting the contact of like a mechanic that is going to like come and fix his generator in a new city, right? So let's take for example that's the tax, right? Remember this project is already like prototyped, and we know like so yeah, we are now testing it since we are done prototyping this project now. Wrong. Oh, screen. No. Yeah. Okay, so let's say the user is here now. The user is going from this screen, they are in the app, they create account, you create an account, they fill in their details. Right. Remember, as Eve also said, you're designing every single interaction for whatever project you're getting on. Right. You're designing the splash screen, you're designing the login screen, you're designing the home page, you're designing the success screen, you're designing basically everything before you hand it over to the developer. So yeah, they get to the create account. So basically, as your users are interacting with these products, now you're noticing, okay, is there any place that they're having friction, right? Then they go from here, they sign up, they're in the website. Okay, so how do they go from here to getting somebody to come and fix their let's say light, electricity, and all like that? You're seeing top service provider, they're going from here. So you're noticing, you're saying, okay, are they able to easily find the service provider that is going to provide this particular service to them? Are they is there any problem here? Do we need to change? Let's say here now, let's say, okay, they're looking for a service provider and they are not easily able to see the screen down here, right? You know that, okay, we need to move this screen right here up and prioritize it and move this ones down, because service provider are like the major thing that users come on this app to look for, right? So that's the way you iterate on your design while you after testing, right? You're able to gather feedback and you know where you need to improve on basically. Yeah, so let's get back to the slide. Yeah, so tasks and scenarios, we've talked about that. Create realistic tasks and objective for them to do, to know if like your design solutions are actually solutions, right? And it's not confusing users and they're able to complete their tasks basically. Can you see my screen and can you hear me? Let me be sure I'm not blabbing.
Yes, please.
Okay. So conducting the test, administer the usability test by observing participants as they perform the designated task. Encourage participants to think aloud, sharing their thoughts, feelings, and opinion throughout the process. This helps uncover insights into their decision making and user experience. So while they are interacting with the design, you encourage them to talk like, okay, so are you able to easily find the button to get these? Are you able to easily find the buy button? So you know exactly if if they are able to find it, if they're having if it's having contrast issue, if where you placed the button is not the right place, right? So you're noticing all of these things, and you're asking them questions as they're interacting with it as well. So you're noticing the way they interact with it. You're gathering feedback because you're asking them questions. But sometimes users say some things that they don't even know that they are not doing right. So aside from asking them questions, you're noticing how they're interacting with it as well. You're seeing if they're struggling to complete a particular task or not, right? So you're noticing all of these things to be able to gather feedback and give the best user experience for the project. Yeah. So collect data, capture data during the usability tests, including observations, participant feedback, and task completion rates, right? Take note on participant actions, comments, and any usability issue they encounter. Capture both quantitative data, that's the task completion time, and qualitative data, participant feedback, what they're saying. And like you're also gathering, like, okay, let's say you have like 10 participants on the ground, and you're able to, okay, you give everybody the same task. Okay, all of you try to buy something, right? You see the number of people that were able to easily complete the task. You see the number of people that were not able to complete the task. So you're able to identify where the problem is and all of those kind of things. So you're able to collect data and try to figure out, you're able to collect data and you try to figure out where the problem is coming from, and why some people are unable to complete the task, why some people were able to complete the task, and all of those kind of things. Analysis results. Analyze the data completed from usability testing to identify patterns, trends, and usability issues. Categorize and prioritize the identified issue based on their severity and impact on user experience. Look for common pain points or recurring themes that emerge across participants. So you want to see, you want to like gather everything together and try to sort it. Okay, I think everybody is having a problem with seeing where we kept the buy button. That means we didn't put it in a visible place, and we want users to buy on this particular website, right? So you're moving the button from where it is to where it is going to be obvious for users to find, right? Let's even say they are able to easily find the buy button and they're having issues with the checkout page, right? Maybe some of them were unable to make payments. You see where the issue is coming from. Is it that they don't understand the UX writing, right? Is it that the way you wrote instructions are not clear? So it might not only be about the design, it could be the way you communicate information to the users, right? So it could be the UX writing as well. Is it that we didn't write it clearly that this is what they're supposed to do? So maybe we need to change how we wrote these things so that they are able to easily navigate the website, right? So you're noticing all these things and you're able to pinpoint where the problem is exactly. Iterate and refine. Use the insights gathered from usability testing to iterate and refine the design. Address the identified usability issues and make necessary improvements. Test and validate the redesign aspects to ensure that the changes effectively enhance visibility. Right. So once you're done with the test, you want to refine. You want to iterate and refine the design. So let's say the buy button now. So you pick it from where it was before to a place you feel okay, it should be visible to users here now. Once you put it in a place that you feel should be visible for users, you test it again to see if it is actually visible to users. You test again, not like you assume that okay, where we put it now is going to be visible, right? You test it with users to make sure that okay, now it is visible. And again, let's say it's about the UX writing, and maybe they were unable to figure out the next step and the instructions that will lead them to the next page. Once you're done changing the UX writing and the grammar you used before, you test it again to see if they are now able to identify to take from one screen to another. So basically, you keep testing and refining till you are sure that okay, the user experience is now is great and users are able to easily interact with the app, the website, the whatever it is you're designing for, basically. Continuous testing. Usability testing is an iterative process that should be conducted throughout the design lifecycle. As I rightly said, you're not testing once and you're now imagining that the solution you're providing now is solving the problem. You want to, it is a continuous process, right, throughout the design lifestyle. Test early and often to catch usability issues early on and on user feedback. Regular testing helps create a user-centered design that meets users' needs and expectation, right? So you want to continue testing your designs. You want to make sure that you the user experience on the product is great before you roll it out to development, so that you don't keep going back and forth with development and design and all those kind of things, right? Remote testing as well. Consider remote testing. Consider using remote usability testing method where participants perform tasks remotely and their interactions are are observed through screen sharing or video conference. Remote testing allows for a broader reach and can be more convenient for participants. Okay, so let's take for example now, let's say Amazon, right? A lot of people from different spheres of life use that particular product. So if you're testing for a product like that, their users are not in like a specific location, you can test across regions, right? Remotely. Like I've shown you before, you can send the link to the prototyped product to the user. They share their screen. You're seeing the way they are interacting with the product. You give them tasks, you ask them questions and all. So you can test remotely as well to be able to cover a wide range of users and not limit yourself to a specific region. Combined with other research methods, usability testing can be complemented by other user research methods. Just as we said before, in our last class, we mentioned interviews, we mentioned surveys, we mentioned analytics. Use a combination of quantitative and qualitative methods to gain a comprehensive understanding of the user experience, right? So you're not limiting yourself to just the prototyped tests, right? You're doing surveys, you're doing research and all those kind of things as well to make sure that you're giving a very great user experience for the product.
Project is nothing new. The assignment for last class, which is to design a 3-page site, about us and contact page. Now we're going to add more features to your previous project by making it more interactive. So you just add that little effect that I showed you. That would be for our assignment. Just add more features to your previous project by making it more interactive. And please, the deadline is 25th of August. Next class will be our last class. And in this last class, we're going to discuss more on collaboration and communication, more on what Goodness just showed us, what happens during this collaboration and communication, and then knowledge of technology. We're going to be sharing some deep knowledge on some of the things that you really need for you to excel as a UX UI designer. You don't just learn just a Figma. You should be able to know some other tools. There are other tools that is very important. And again, the same concept you implement in this is the same concept you implement in other designing tools. And also what we do for continuous learning, so that you can be able to have portfolio.
MeQuest. Mentorship with care.